I've been married to Jenna for 5 years. On paper, we were the picture-perfect couple, young, attractive, and seemingly in love. But looking back, I can see the cracks in our relationship that I refuse to acknowledge. The late nights at work, the unexplained absences, and the little white lies became easier to overlook when I was wrapped up in the idea of our perfect life together. But that perfect image came crashing down when Jenna told me she was going on a spa retreat for the weekend. I remember sitting at the kitchen table as she excitedly talked about her plans. "Oh, it's going to be so relaxing, you know. Just me, some massages, and a few days away to recharge," she said, flipping her long hair over her shoulder, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. I couldn't help but smile. I figured she deserved it. After all, we had been working hard, and a weekend away sounded perfect for her. But something didn't sit right with me. It was a gut feeling, you know. Jenna had been different lately, distant, moody. When I asked her if she'd be able to take the weekend off from work, she brushed it off, saying she had everything under control. I wanted to believe her, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was missing something. So, the day she left for her so-called spa retreat, I decided to do something I should have done way before then. I called the spa. I figured I would check in, maybe send her a surprise bouquet of flowers to brighten her stay. You can imagine my shock when the receptionist informed me that they had no record of a reservation for Jenna. My heart raced as I hung up the phone. I felt sick. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I spent the next hour packing around the house, replaying every moment I had with Jenna in my head. Had I been a fool this entire time? The lies began to unravel and my mind raced with the possibilities. Was she really at a spa or was she somewhere else entirely? I felt nauseous just thinking about it. I needed answers and I couldn't just sit there waiting for her to come home. So I took a leap. I drove to the posh hotel where I knew she sometimes met friends for dinner, hopping to catch her having drinks or dinner with someone else. As I pulled into the parking lot, the dread settled in my stomach again, and I felt like I was about to confront the end of my world. When I walked into the hotel lobby, my heart pounded in my chest like a drum. I scanned the area, looking for Jenna. My eyes landed on a couple by the bar, laughing and leaning into one another. And there she was, Jenna, her head thrown back in laughter, a man close to her side, his hand resting casually on her lower back. I froze. It felt like I had stepped into a dream, one of those nightmares that you can't wake up from. I wanted to scream, to pull her away from him, but my legs were rooted to the ground. I was paralyzed by a wave of emotions: anger, betrayal, heartache. I pulled my phone out and took a picture, proof that I could show her later. My stomach twisted as I watched them, oblivious to my presence. She leaned in, whispering something in his ear, and he responded with a grin that made my blood boil. There was no doubt in my mind. Now she was cheating on me. The realization hit me hard. I was losing my wife to someone else, to a lie that I had been fed while I thought everything was fine. This was the woman I thought I knew, the woman I loved, and yet here she was, so easily betraying our vows. I turned and walked back to my car, feeling hollow inside. I couldn't wait for her to come home. I knew I needed to confront her, but how? What would I say? Would she even care? I wasn't sure if I wanted to throw accusations at her or simply ask her why. But one thing was clear: I wasn't going to let her get away with this. I deserved to know the truth. The plan formed in my head as I drove home. I would confront her, but I would do it on my terms. I wouldn't let her see how much she hurt me. I would be strong. I needed to gather my thoughts and prepare for the inevitable showdown. I got home and sat on the couch, waiting for her to walk in, my heart racing with anger and sadness. I felt a storm brewing inside me, and I was ready to unleash it. As I waited, I thought about how I would approach the conversation, what I would say, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was on the brink of something life-changing. Whether it was going to be good or bad, I hadn't yet decided. But one thing was for sure: I was going to take control back from her. I wasn't going to be the fool anymore. The clock ticked away slowly as I sat there, my heart racing. Each passing minute felt like an eternity. I could hear my own pulse in my ears, a constant reminder of the impending confrontation. I had replayed every possible scenario in my head, but they all ended the same: me demanding the truth and her scrambling for excuses. Finally, the door swung open, and Jenna walked in, her face lighting up as she spotted me on the couch. "Hey, babe," she chimed, clearly not sensing the storm cloud that loomed over me. She looked radiant, her hair cascading down her shoulders, her makeup flawless. But I could only see the woman who had betrayed me. "Hey," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. I felt a mix of anger and hurt boiling just beneath the surface. "How was the spa?" Jenna's smile faltered for a split second before she regained her composure. "Oh, it was amazing, just what I needed. Massages, facials, the works. I couldn't hold it in any longer." "Was it really?" I asked, my voice low and steady. "Because I called the spa today and they said they had no record of you being there." Her expression shifted, the confident facade waning as her eyes widened in shock. "What do you mean? That's crazy. I was just there. You must have called the wrong place." "Wrong place? Jenna, I know you're lying," I shot back, my frustration growing. "I saw you today. You were at the hotel with another man, laughing, flirting right in front of me." Her face went pale, and for a moment I thought I saw genuine fear flash across her eyes. You saw me." "Yes, I did," I said, every word dripping with the pain and anger I felt. "And I have proof." I pulled out my phone and showed her the picture I had taken. There she was, leaning into another man, carefree and happy, the complete opposite of how I felt at that moment. "Who is he?" I demanded, my voice shaking with emotion. "What's going on, Jenna?" She hesitated, and I could see her mind racing, searching for an excuse. Okay, just hear me out," she said, her tone shifting to a defensive one. "It's not what you think. He's just a friend from work. We were catching up, I swear." "A friend? You expect me to believe that?" "You didn't even mention him." I shot back, incredulous. The anger inside me was palpable, every word feeling like a punch to the gut. "You go off lying about a spa retreat while you're out there cheating on me, and you want me to believe he's just some friend. Come on, Jenna." "I didn't cheat on you," she insisted, her voice rising. "It was just a mistake. He was there and we talked. It didn't mean anything." "A mistake?" I echoed, disbelief flooding through me. "You call this a mistake? You lied to me, and now you're minimizing what you did." She crossed her arms defensively, her eyes darting around the room as if searching for an escape. I was feeling overwhelmed. I thought I needed some time away, but I didn't mean for it to turn into this. I just didn't think you'd understand. So, instead of just talking to me, you decided to lie and sneak around. You thought that was better. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You could have told me you were unhappy, Jenna. We could have talked through it, but you chose to cheat, and now it's all just a misunderstanding." Tears welled in her eyes, and for a moment I felt a flicker of sympathy, but it quickly faded as I realized that I was the one who deserved sympathy here. "I was scared, okay? Scared of what you would say. I thought you might leave me." "Leave you?" I scoffed, the irony stinging. "You're the one who's leaving me every time you step out with some other guy." The confrontation reached a boiling point as Jenna tried to defend her actions, but nothing she said could lessen the blow. I felt betrayed, angry, and utterly heartbroken. As I stood there, I realized that this wasn't just about infidelity, it was about the trust that had been completely shattered. "Why do you even care?" she shouted, her frustration matching mine. "You've been so busy with work. I felt alone, and I made a mistake." "Alone?" I repeated incredulously. "You think that gives you a free pass to betray me, to throw away everything we've built?" "I didn't mean for it to happen," she cried, her voice cracking. "I love you, I do. I just didn't know how to handle things." In that moment, I felt like I was talking to a stranger. The woman I thought I knew was gone, replaced by someone willing to betray everything we had for a fleeting thrill. The tears that streamed down her face didn't move me. I had given her my heart, and she had torn it apart. "Love isn't an excuse for betrayal," I said, my voice firm. "What you did is unforgivable." The silence that followed felt heavy, filled with all the emotions we hadn't yet acknowledged: anger, sadness, disappointment. I realized I couldn't stay in this cycle of pain and lies any longer. It was time to take control of my life, to decide what I wanted moving forward. In that moment, I felt a resolve forming inside me. This wasn't where my story would end. I wasn't going to be her victim. I needed to think of my next steps, to find a way to reclaim my life and my happiness. But first, I had to confront the reality of the situation, what this would mean for our marriage and for me. And as I stood there, watching her crumble, I knew this was just the beginning of a long journey ahead. After that explosive confrontation, I took a step back and let the gravity of the situation wash over me. There was a part of me that wanted to scream, to hurl accusations until Jenna admitted the full truth. But I knew that wouldn't help. Instead, I felt a strange calmness settle over me, as if I had finally broken free from the haze of denial that had clouded my judgment for so long. Jenna was still crying, wiping her tears with the back of her hand as she stood before me, desperate for me to believe that everything would be okay, but I didn't want to hear her excuses anymore. I needed space to process everything, to figure out what this meant for me and for our marriage. I need time to think, I told her, my voice steady but firm. I can't keep doing this, I won't. She nodded, her expression shifting from panic to realization as if she finally understood the weight of her actions. Please don't leave, she pleaded. I'll do anything to fix this. I love you, I really do. I shook my head, my heart heavy. Love doesn't just justify betrayal, Jenna. It's about trust, and you've shattered that. I didn't wait for her response. I walked past her and headed to our bedroom, needing to be alone with my thoughts. I collapsed onto the bed, staring at the ceiling as memories of happier times flooded my mind. I thought about how we met, how we fell in love, and how I had believed we were building a life together. Now, it all felt like a lie. I took out my phone and scrolled through our photos, searching for a sign that things were still good, that we were still the couple I thought we were. But every smile, every vacation, every milestone now felt tainted. I felt anger bubbling up inside me again, and I needed an outlet. I grabbed my gym bag and decided to hit the gym. I figured some exercise would help clear my mind and release some of the pent-up frustration that was building in my chest. As I ran on the treadmill, I let my thoughts swirl around me. The betrayal stung, but more than that, I felt foolish for not seeing the signs sooner. I couldn't help but think about how Jenna's lies had affected me. I had trusted her implicitly, and she had taken that trust and thrown it away without a second thought. I thought about the man I saw her with. Who was he? Did she have feelings for him? Was he just a fling, or was he something more? All these questions raced through my mind, and I pushed myself harder, trying to sweat out the anger. I ran until my legs felt like jelly, but the physical exertion didn't ease my emotional turmoil. I needed a plan, a way to regain control over my life. After my workout, I headed home, feeling slightly more centered but still grappling with the chaos inside me. I found Jenna sitting on the couch, her posture slumped, her eyes red from crying. The sight of her made my heart ache, but I reminded myself that I couldn't let sympathy for her cloud my judgment. We need to talk about what happens next, I said, taking a deep breath to steady myself. Okay, I understand, she replied, her voice trembling. I want to do whatever it takes to fix this. I'll go to therapy, I'll be better, just please don't give up on us. Therapy won't fix the fact that you broke my trust, I said, unable to keep the bitterness from creeping into my voice. I can't just pretend like everything is okay. I need to know why this happened. What were you searching for that you couldn't find with me? She opened her mouth to respond, but I raised my hand to stop her. No more excuses, Jenna. I don't want to hear about how you felt lonely or overwhelmed. We all deal with our problems, and you chose to run to someone else instead of coming to me. That's not something we can just gloss over. I know, she whispered, her voice barely above a whisper. I messed up, but I want to fix it. I want to be the person you thought I was. I could see the sincerity in her eyes, but it was overshadowed by the enormity of her betrayal. I don't think that's possible right now. You've broken something that's going to take time to heal, if it can be healed at all. She looked defeated, her head hanging low. What do you want me to do? I don't know yet, I admitted, but I need space to figure it out. I can't make any decisions tonight, and I can't promise you that I'll forgive you. I need to think about what's best for me. Please don't leave me, she pleaded, her voice cracking. I'll do anything. Her desperation tugged at my heart, but I couldn't let my emotions sway my judgment. I'm not leaving for good. I just need to step back and assess things without the emotional weight of this conversation hanging over me. I need to see if there's a path forward, but right now, I just don't know. I didn't wait for her response. I headed to the spare bedroom, closing the door behind me. The quiet enveloped me, and I sat on the edge of the bed, feeling the weight of the world on my shoulders. As I sat there, I thought about my own happiness. I had spent so much time trying to keep our marriage intact, but what about me? What did I want? I realized this wasn't just about Jenna anymore. It was about reclaiming my own life, finding my worth outside of her betrayal. I needed a plan. I needed to figure out how I would move forward, whether that meant working on our marriage or finding a new path altogether. My heart was broken, but I was determined not to let that define my future. As the hours passed, I felt clarity start to form. I would take my time and figure out what I wanted, and in the meantime, I would ensure that I wasn't just a pawn in Jenna's game. I wouldn't let her manipulation and lies dictate the next chapter of my life. The following days would test every ounce of strength I had, but I was ready to face whatever came my way. For the first time in a long time, I felt empowered. I wouldn't let this betrayal crush me. I would rise from the ashes, stronger than ever. The next morning, I woke up feeling a strange mix of determination and uncertainty. I had spent the night in the spare bedroom, a self-imposed exile that felt necessary after the chaos of yesterday's confrontation. The space felt neutral, allowing me to gather my thoughts without the emotional weight of our shared bedroom bearing down on me. Jenna was already awake when I emerged, and I could see the anxiety etched on her face. We exchanged a quick glance, and I could tell she was bracing herself for whatever I was going to say next. My heart ached at the sight of her. The woman I once adored now felt like a stranger, a constant reminder of betrayal. "I'm going to take a few days off work," I said as I walked into the kitchen. I needed time to think, and work had been a good distraction, but I didn't want to bury my feelings in busy work. Jenna followed me, her eyes wide with concern. "Why?" she asked, her voice wavering slightly. "Are you going to leave?" "I don't know yet," I replied, grabbing a mug and pouring coffee. "But I can't keep living in limbo. I need to understand what I want. I want to reflect on everything without the daily routine clouding my judgment." Jenna nodded, tears pooling in her eyes. "I understand. I just hope you'll think about giving us another chance." I didn't respond. Instead, I took my coffee to the patio. The morning air was fresh, a welcome reprieve from the heaviness of the last few days. I sat down, hoping that the quiet would help me gain clarity. As I sipped my coffee, I reflected on what I wanted. The thought of leaving Jenna was daunting, but the thought of staying in a relationship built on lies was even worse. I felt like I was at a crossroads, and the path I chose would shape my future. Over the next few days, I focused on myself. I spent time at the gym, went for long runs, and even picked up some old hobbies I had let slide. I reconnected with friends I had neglected, allowing their support to buoy me during this challenging time. I needed to remind myself who I was outside of my relationship with Jenna. Each day brought more clarity. I started to think about counseling, both individual and couples therapy. If there was any chance of salvaging our marriage, we needed professional help. But I was also aware that nothing could happen until Jenna fully acknowledged the damage she had caused. After a few days of reflection, I decided to sit down with Jenna again. I called her into the living room, where I had arranged the furniture to create a more open and inviting atmosphere. I knew this conversation would be crucial, and I wanted it to be one of honesty and potential healing. "Jenna, I've spent the last few days trying to understand what I want moving forward." I started, feeling the weight of the moment. "I've realized that I need more than just apologies or promises from you. I need to see real change." She nodded, her eyes fixed on mine, a mix of hope and fear swirling within her. "I understand. I want to change. I want to be the partner you deserve." "Change takes time," I replied, "and it requires us to be honest with each other. I think we should go to couples therapy together. It might help us navigate this mess and figure out if we can rebuild what we had." "Will it really work?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know, but I think it's worth a shot if we're both committed to making it work," I said. "But it can't just be on me to make this happen. You need to own your part in this. I need to see that you're willing to put in the effort." Jenna looked down, her expression clouded with shame. "I know I messed up. I don't want to keep making excuses. I want to make things right." "Then let's make a plan," I said, feeling a flicker of hope. "We can find a therapist together and set up appointments, but we both need to be honest with each other and ourselves. There's no more room for lies. She nodded, her face resolute. I promise. No more lies. We spent the rest of the evening searching for therapists nearby, and for the first time in a while, I felt a sense of purpose. This was a step forward, a chance to face the reality of our situation instead of hiding from it. But even as I began to feel a glimmer of hope, I was also aware that the road ahead would be fraught with challenges. I had to keep reminding myself that healing takes time. I couldn't rush into forgiveness without genuinely processing the hurt. As the days turned into weeks, we started attending therapy sessions together. Each session was like peeling back the layers of a painful wound, revealing just how deep the betrayal cut. Jenna opened up about her feelings of inadequacy, her fears about our relationship, and how she had sought validation outside of our marriage. I, in turn, shared my feelings of hurt and betrayal. The sessions were emotionally draining but necessary. It was a long process, and there were times when I felt like throwing in the towel. But each time I considered walking away, a part of me held on to the memory of the love we once shared. One particularly tough session forced us to confront our communication issues. The therapist urged us to talk openly about our feelings without judgment. I could see the struggle on Jenna's face as she fought against her instinct to deflect or deny. I didn't realize how closed off I had become, she admitted, her voice trembling. I pushed you away when I should have leaned on you. I was afraid of being vulnerable, and that's why I sought comfort elsewhere. That's the thing, Jenna, I replied, my heart aching. Being vulnerable is part of being in a relationship. It's what makes us strong. Hiding from each other only creates a bigger divide. Her eyes filled with tears as she nodded. I know that now. I promise I'll work on it. I don't want to lose you. I wanted to believe her, but the scars of betrayal ran deep. I had to remind myself that healing was not a straight line. It was messy, complicated, and filled with setbacks. It would take time for me to fully trust her again, and I had to be patient with myself as we navigated this rocky terrain together. As the weeks turned into months, I began to see subtle changes in Jenna. She was more open about her feelings, more willing to discuss difficult topics. We still had our moments of tension, but they were fewer and farther between. Yet I couldn't shake the feeling that I was still holding back. Each time I saw her, I was reminded of her betrayal, and I struggled with whether I could truly forgive her. There were days when I felt like I was making progress, and others where the past clawed at me, threatening to pull me back into despair. But I held on to hope. I knew that rebuilding trust was a journey, and I was willing to take it one step at a time. I was rediscovering who I was outside of my relationship with Jenna, and that self-discovery was empowering. I wasn't just the man who had been cheated on. I was worthy of love, respect, and happiness, whether that was with Jenna or someone else down the line. The road ahead was still uncertain, but I was determined to navigate it with strength and integrity. I wouldn't allow myself to be defined by her mistakes. I was reclaiming my life one day at a time. As the weeks turned into months, I found myself on a roller coaster of emotions. Therapy sessions became a routine fixture in our lives, a space where we could unpack our thoughts and feelings. Some days I left feeling hopeful, others left me drained and frustrated. The road to healing was long, and it seemed like for every step forward, I took 2 steps back. One evening, as we sat on the couch together after a particularly intense therapy session, I could see the weight of the world on Jenna's shoulders. She was trying hard to show me that she was committed to this process, but I could still feel a barrier between us. "Do you think we're making progress?" she asked, her voice tinged with uncertainty. "I want to believe we are," I replied, taking a deep breath. "But sometimes it feels like we're just going through the motions. I still feel a lot of pain, Jenna." "I think we both do." "I know," she said, her eyes downcast. "I just wish I could take it all back. I didn't realize how much my actions would hurt you or us. I'm so sorry." "And I appreciate that," I said, trying to keep my tone even. "But we also need to face the reality that this will take time. I can't just forget what happened. I need to see real change, and I need to feel secure in this relationship again." "I promise I'm working on it," she said earnestly. "I'm trying to be more open and honest, just like you asked, but I also want to know how to help you heal. What can I do?" I paused, contemplating her question. Sometimes I think it would help if we could just be more honest about our feelings without fear of judgment. I want to talk about the hurt, but I don't want it to turn into a blame game. Agreed, she said, nodding. I want to create a safe space where we can both express ourselves. That evening, we set aside time for what we called check-in talks. The idea was simple. Every couple of days, we would sit down for an open conversation about our feelings. It became a ritual that helped us navigate the emotional landscape of our relationship, allowing us to air our grievances while also celebrating the small victories. However, despite the progress we were making, I still felt that nagging fear lurking in the back of my mind. Would I ever fully trust Jenna again? Would the scars of betrayal heal, or would they forever shadow our relationship? I tried to push those thoughts aside, focusing instead on the present and what we could do to improve our connection. One day, after a particularly successful check-in, Jenna surprised me with a dinner date. "I thought we could celebrate our progress," she said, her eyes bright. "I made reservations at that Italian place we love." I couldn't help but smile at her effort. "Sounds great. I could use a night out." As we sat down at the restaurant, I felt a sense of normalcy wash over me. The ambience was warm, the soft glow of candlelight flickering around us. We shared a bottle of wine and reminisced about our early days together. Each laugh and smile felt like a step toward rebuilding what had been lost. But as the evening wore on, I felt a sense of apprehension creep in. The dinner felt like a temporary escape from our reality, and I couldn't shake the thought that our relationship was still fragile. I wanted to enjoy the moment, but I also knew that our journey was far from over. As we walked back to the car, I paused for a moment, taking in the cool night air. "Jenna, can we talk about where we go from here?" "What do you mean?" she asked, her brow furrowing slightly. "I mean, I feel like we've made progress, but I'm still unsure of what kind of future we're building together. I don't want to rush into anything, but I think we need to have a real conversation about what we both want moving forward." She nodded, her expression serious. "I get it. I'm scared too. I want to work on this, but I also don't want to pretend like everything is fine when it's not." "Exactly," I said, relieved that she understood. "I think we should start discussing our long-term goals, whether that includes building a life together or if we need to consider other options. I don't want to prolong the inevitable if we can't find a way to rebuild." As we drove home, the weight of that conversation settled in. I knew we had to be honest with ourselves and each other. If we were going to make it through this, we needed to be crystal clear about what we wanted and how we could achieve it. In the following days, we sat down to discuss our future. It felt daunting but also necessary. "What do you envision for us?" I asked, looking directly into her eyes. "I want us to be stronger than we were before," she said, her voice steady. "I want to rebuild trust and create a relationship based on honesty and vulnerability. I want to be the partner you deserve." "And I want that too," I replied. "But we need to set some boundaries. I need to have reassurance that you're fully committed to this process. No more lies and no more secrets. If we're going to move forward, we have to be transparent about everything." She nodded, her expression serious. "I understand. I'll do whatever it takes." As we talked, I felt a sense of hope blossom within me. Maybe we could find a way through this mess. Maybe we could emerge stronger than before. But I also knew that the journey would be long, and it was going to take continuous effort from both of us. That evening, I went to bed with a feeling of cautious optimism. Perhaps there was a light at the end of this dark tunnel, but I had to remain vigilant, stay true to myself, and keep working toward healing. I wouldn't let the pain define me. Instead, I would use it as fuel to create a brighter future, whether that was with Jenna or by forging a new path on my own. For now, I was ready to take that leap of faith, one step at a time. I would keep my heart open while also guarding it, finding the balance between vulnerability and self-preservation. It was time to reclaim my life, and I was determined to navigate whatever came next with strength and resilience. As the weeks continued, Jenna and I navigated the complexities of rebuilding our relationship. We were still attending therapy, and each session unearthed deeper layers of our feelings. The process was anything but linear. One moment we'd feel like we were making progress, and the next we'd hit a wall. But through it all, I remained committed to finding a resolution that worked for both of us. One afternoon, as I was sitting on the patio sipping coffee, I felt a wave of nostalgia wash over me. It was the same spot where Jenna had first told me about her spa retreat, where everything had come crashing down. I couldn't help but reflect on how far we had come since that day. Sure, there were painful moments, but I was finally starting to see a glimmer of hope. Jenna joined me on the patio, her hair pulled back in a messy bun and a look of determination on her face. "I've been thinking a lot about what you said last week," she began, her voice steady. "About boundaries and transparency. I want to make sure we're both on the same page moving forward." "Good," I replied, feeling a sense of relief. "I think setting boundaries is essential. We need to create a safe space where we can both feel secure in our relationship." "I completely agree," she said, taking a deep breath. "I want to be open about everything, not just the hard things but the good things. 2. I want us to share our hopes and dreams, not just our fears." I smiled at her sincerity. "That sounds like a great plan. Communication is key, and I think if we keep working on it, we can build something even stronger." But even as I felt hopeful, I couldn't shake the fear that lingered in the back of my mind. Had Jenna truly changed, or was this just a temporary phase? I needed to give her the benefit of the doubt, but I also had to protect my heart. As the days turned into weeks, I started to notice small changes in Jenna. She was more attentive, more involved, and most importantly, more honest about her feelings. We began to share more about our day-to-day lives, from the mundane to the profound. She was learning to express herself without fear, and I could see the effort she was putting into our relationship. One evening, we decided to have a date night at home. We cooked together, laughing and reminiscing about our early dating days. As we sat down to eat, I felt a warmth in my heart that I hadn't in a long time. It was a reminder of why I had fallen in love with her in the first place. "I've been thinking too," I said, putting down my fork, "about how important it is for us to support each other's personal growth. I want you to pursue your passions and make sure you have space for yourself. I think that will only strengthen our relationship." Her eyes lit up. "I appreciate that. I've been wanting to take a painting class, but I didn't think I could find the time. Maybe I should sign up." "Absolutely," I encouraged. "It'll be good for you, and I'll support you in any way I can." As the conversation flowed, I felt the tension between us ease. We were sharing dreams and aspirations, and it felt liberating to discuss our futures openly. But there was still a part of me that knew the road ahead wouldn't be without challenges. Weeks turned into months, and while we were making strides, I still had moments where doubt crept in. I would catch myself wondering if Jenna was sincere, or if it was simply the pressure of therapy that was driving her behavior. These moments would often leave me feeling anxious and insecure, but I knew I had to trust the process. One evening, after a particularly emotional therapy session, I found myself sitting alone on the patio, staring out into the night. I thought about all we had been through, the ups and downs, the heartache and healing. I realized that I had also grown in ways I hadn't anticipated. Jenna joined me outside, sensing my contemplative mood. "What's on your mind?" she asked softly. "I was just thinking about everything, how far we've come and how much we've both changed," I admitted. "But I also know that it's easy to slip back into old habits. I want to make sure we don't lose sight of our progress." She sat beside me, her expression serious. "I promise I won't let that happen. I'm committed to this, and I want you to know that I'm not going anywhere." Her words brought me comfort, but I also realized that reassurance alone wouldn't be enough. I needed to continue prioritizing my own growth, my own happiness. After some time, I decided to take a leap of faith. I enrolled in a few classes to explore my own passions. I had always wanted to learn guitar, so I signed up for lessons. It felt liberating to dedicate time to myself, and I couldn't remember the last time I had done something just for me. As I grew more confident in my skills, I shared my progress with Jenna. She was supportive and encouraged me to keep playing. We would often sit together on the patio, me strumming away while she listened, her smile brightening the evening air. Eventually, I found myself at a crossroads again. I had to decide whether I could forgive Jenna fully and commit to moving forward together. I realized that while I could choose to forgive her actions, what mattered more was whether I could forgive the emotional toll it had taken on me. One evening, I broached the topic during our check-in. Jenna, I've been thinking a lot about forgiveness. I want to move forward, but I need to know that we're both on the same path. Can we truly rebuild the trust that was shattered? I hope so, she replied, her voice steady. But I know it's not just about saying sorry. I need to prove to you that I can be trusted again. It's a journey and I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I felt a flicker of hope. Then let's make a pact. Let's promise to keep working on ourselves and our relationship. Let's commit to being open about our struggles and celebrating our victories, no matter how small. Deal, she said, reaching out to take my hand. As I looked into her eyes, I saw sincerity, and for the first time in a long time, I felt a sense of peace. It wouldn't be easy, but I was ready to embrace the uncertainty of our journey together. We had both learned valuable lessons about vulnerability, honesty, and the importance of communication. No matter what the future held, I felt empowered to take control of my own life. I was no longer defined by Jenna's betrayal. I was reclaiming my identity, my passions, and my happiness. In the end, I knew that love could be messy, complicated, and painful, but it could also be transformative. I was willing to take that risk, to open my heart again. As I sat on the patio with Jenna, feeling the warmth of her hand in mine, I felt ready to face whatever came next, together.